What if the real reason you can't sleep has nothing to do with sleep at all? Your cortisol is still running. Cortisol is the brain's alertness signal. Its job is to keep you awake, aware, and ready. And if it stays elevated after dark, the brain doesn't receive a message that says sleep. It receives a message that says, stay on guard. That's the real problem most people never address. And researchers have identified 3 surprisingly simple habits that help quiet cortisol down and shift the brain toward recovery. The first habit starts earlier than most people expect. It begins about 90 minutes before bed, and it has everything to do with light. Most people try to fall asleep in a bright room, and that's a problem. Deep inside the brain sits a tiny structure called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, the body's master clock. It determines whether it's time to be alert or time to recover, and it makes that decision largely based on one thing: light. Bright light sends a clear biological message: stay awake, keep cortisol ready. Dim light sends the opposite signal: night has arrived, recovery can begin. But here's where the modern environment quietly works against sleep. For most of human history, darkness followed sunset. Today, after sunset, comes ceiling lights, screens, tablets, and phones, all radiating the kind of brightness the brain interprets as daytime. The result? Melatonin production is delayed. Cortisol stays elevated, and the body is caught in a biological contradiction, physically tired, but neurologically on watch. Researchers consistently find that reducing light exposure in the evening supports more normal circadian rhythm function and earlier melatonin onset. The fix isn't dramatic. About 60 to 90 minutes before bed, begin lowering light levels in your space. Turn off overhead lighting. Use warmer, dimmer lamps. Reduce screen brightness. The goal isn't darkness. The goal is a signal. Because the brain doesn't follow clocks, it follows cues. But there's another source of elevated cortisol most people carry directly into bed, and it has nothing to do with the lights. The second habit is about the mind and what happens when it can't let go of unfinished things. The brain is a prediction machine. Its job is to anticipate problems before they happen. And when something is left unresolved, an email, a task, a conversation, the brain keeps it active. Not to frustrate you, but because from a survival standpoint, unresolved problems may still require action. This is what psychologists call an open loop. The task isn't finished. The problem isn't resolved. And as long as that loop stays open, the brain holds on to it, replaying it, flagging it, surfacing it, especially at night, when external distractions disappear. The result is nighttime rumination, the same thoughts cycling, the same worries revisited. Here's what makes this neurologically interesting. The brain doesn't relax because problems are solved. It relaxes when it believes nothing important will be lost or forgotten. Researchers call this cognitive offloading, and the approach is simpler than most people expect. Before bed, take 2 to 3 minutes and write down whatever is still circulating in your mind. Tasks, concerns, tomorrow's priorities, anything that feels unfinished. Not because writing solves those things, because writing stores them. Studies have found that even brief pre-sleep planning exercises can meaningfully reduce the time it takes to fall asleep, because the brain no longer has to hold everything internally. When the information exists somewhere safe outside the mind, the brain is allowed to release it. Which brings us to the third habit. This one works directly through the nervous system, and it may be the fastest of all 3. The third habit skips the mind entirely and works through the body instead. Most people try to calm the mind by thinking differently, but the brain often listens to the body first. When the body is tense, breathing quickly, muscles braced, the brain draws a conclusion. Something must be happening. This isn't a flaw in the system. It's the system working exactly as designed. Cortisol is closely tied to the state of the sympathetic nervous system, the fight-or-flight network. When that system is active, the brain keeps alertness elevated. Vigilance stays on. But when the parasympathetic nervous system takes over, the recovery network, the message changes. You are safe. Vigilance can decrease. One of the most direct ways to trigger that shift is controlled breathing. Breathing is unique. It operates automatically, but it's also one of the few biological systems the conscious mind can directly influence. A simple pattern works reliably well. Inhale through the nose for 4 seconds. Exhale slowly for 6 seconds. Repeat. The longer exhale is what matters most. It stimulates the vagus nerve, one of the body's primary calming pathways, which helps shift the nervous system toward parasympathetic activity. Within minutes, heart rate begins to slow, muscle tension decreases, and the body starts sending a new signal to the brain. There is no threat. You can let go now. And that's really the bigger pattern behind all three habits. Sleep doesn't happen because you force it. It happens because the brain finally stops looking for danger. Dimmer light tells the brain, night has arrived. Writing down open loops tells the brain, nothing important will be lost. Slower breathing tells the brain, the environment is safe. When those three signals arrive consistently, something shifts. The brain stops fighting sleep, because the problem was never a lack of tiredness. It was a nervous system that hadn't received permission to stop. The brain doesn't need perfect conditions to sleep. It just needs enough evidence that staying awake is no longer necessary. Quiet the signal, sleep follows.